This episode of the podcast is brought to you by New Bloom Labs.
What's up, guys? We've talked before about how frustrating your lab testing can be. Waiting 1 to 2 to even 3 weeks for a full panel analysis of your cannabis products is simply unacceptable. That's why you need to know about the team at New Bloom Labs. These guys are the real deal. With locations in Tennessee and Texas and more to come soon, New Bloom Labs provides precise, accurate analysis and the best turnaround time in the industry. They always provide next business day turnaround on potency tests and 1 to 2 business turnaround on most toxin screenings. They're ISO certified and DEA registered, so you know their science is first rate. Most cannabis producers are frustrated with their third-party labs, but you don't have to be. Call New Bloom Labs at 844-TEST-CBD or visit their website at newbloomlabs.com. Superior science, rapid results, New Bloom Labs. Hello everyone, Kevin Carrillo here, and welcome to another episode of the Cannabinoid Connect podcast. My guests today are Ben and Vinnie Celani, co-founders at High Life Farms. Ben and Vinnie Celani, how are you guys?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be talking with you guys today.
Yeah, us as well, man. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Absolutely, yeah. So I know that y'all are based and basically started in Michigan, right? With High Life Farms, but from my understanding, I know that y'all are kind of split now. One's based still in Michigan, and the other is in California. Is that right?
Yeah. It kind of is a bit of the opposite, though. We started out in California. Vinny and I grew up in Michigan. Vinny moved out to California, and I did shortly after that, maybe a few years after he did, and we were able to get started in the cannabis industry as a family.
Got you. Okay.
But our next project actually went to Denver. So we had a small dispensary and small cultivation in Denver next, and that was kind of like our trial by fire in the industry, I guess, if you will.
Okay.
And then we kind of rolled into California and Michigan.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I was just focused and centered around Michigan as a state. One, because of course, them going recreational in 2018 and being the first Midwest state to do so. So I'm really interested to talk about the Midwest and specifically Michigan's cannabis market and learn, what all you guys are doing there and what you're seeing. So before we dive into that, just for those listening, I have Ben and Vinnie Celani on. They're the co-founders of High Life Farms, which is one of Michigan's oldest and largest recreational cultivators. High Life Farms has a portfolio that includes cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, in-house brands, brand partnership, white labeling solutions, and ownership stakes in numerous dispensaries. So, guys, that's kind of like the press release version of what y'all do. But, let's first kick it off with the Michigan cannabis market overall. So what's it like operating in the state? What have you guys seen in terms of similarities and differences when it comes to California and, say, Colorado, the other states that you operate out of?
Ben, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's some pretty significant differences between California and California and Michigan. California is obviously a very mature, established market. Michigan has had medical cannabis for, a good 10, 15 years now, but obviously nowhere as mature as California. So as Michigan kind of starts up the recreational market here in the past 3 years, it's much, much less competitive than it is in California. So that would be a huge difference for us. We got in 2017, right before the recreational market opened up. So I say we've had a good 3 years to now get ourselves established and get everything going. And it really gave us a head start to have our name out there early in Michigan, whereas California, it's a lot tougher to get your name into stores and things like that. It's just a very competitive market.
Yeah, you're pretty watered down here as a brand in California. I mean, so much competition out there. The main differences, though, in California and Michigan, I think at the moment are more marketing based, whereas we're more bougie on the packaging and that side of things, whereas Michigan's more on the medicinal side of things, which I still love at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed your bougie packaging, man. I really liked it. I kind of I got like Tiffany's type vibe from it with is it like a crown on top of the letters or what is that exactly?
Yeah, that's what we were going for. It's actually part of our family crest. We all have our tattooed on us in our family.
No shit. I have my
Yeah.
family crest tattooed as well.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So we all have the High Life Farms logo on us from birth.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like, okay, you spoke about the similarities and differences when it comes to like the competition, right? Of course, California being established, super competitive market. You guys were at the forefront when it came to Michigan, so you had an easier entry into the market. But outside of competition, like what have you seen similarities and differences when it comes to regulations? So is it much easier to navigate and operate in Michigan? Is it easier in California? What do you see?
I would say California is actually much easier than Michigan is. Being a much more mature market, things tend to be much more fast and loose here. Whereas in Michigan, it seems like a heavy bureaucratic process at the moment and moves pretty slowly there. Ben, you got anything to add?
So
Yeah, no, I would agree with Vinny. It's a lot different in Michigan. There's not as many people for regulators to focus on, especially over the past 2 years. There might have been only 10 processors for regulators to come visit, so there was benefits to it as well. Yeah, we were visited a lot more by regulators who may have been a little stricter with us, but they also worked with us on creating the laws in Michigan, so looking at how our facilities run and what laws make sense to put towards other production facilities and things like that. So I think it was good to have that difference, but could be tough at times for sure.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I'm glad you touched on that, Ben, because like it seems like being one of the first in Michigan to be a recreational cultivator, it seems like you would work closely with the state to kind of help them and work with them to implement some of these laws and regulations. So while the pace is slower, of course, you're kind of at the forefront of writing and implementing those laws, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And no, the state's really been great with us no matter what. So yeah, it's all been a positive experience working with Metric in the state.
Got you. So let's talk specifically about High Life Farms. So I mentioned at the beginning kind of that press release boilerplate of your portfolio, but let's talk specifically about every kind of vertical that y'all touch.
You want to take it, Vin?
Yeah. So, I mean, in California, or do you want to go California or Michigan first?
Let's do California market first, and then we'll go Michigan.
So, okay. So California here, we are cultivation, distribution, manufacturing. We used to own a dispensary here, but we kind of got out of that game a little while ago. So we've been focusing more on cultivation and white labeling for other brands at the moment, as well as getting our own brand up and running right now. I would say like we're probably about 80% wholesale right now, where we are filling for a lot of the other brands in the market. Most of them are pretty well known in the top 10 out there. But we're just starting to slowly get into our own branding here in California because, like we said earlier, it's tough to get into. It's a initial hard step to make here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine, again, California being so established on the THC side and then just looking at the landscape on the hemp side nationally, right? And just seeing the competition when it comes to CBD products and others. So yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from in terms of operating and launching your own brand.
Yeah. But I mean, we've had success so far. We started to try to grow it organically. So we've been doing it in the desert here, slowly moving out to LA and then moving up to Northern California. So we're in close to 50 to 100 dispensaries right now, but we'd like to see ourselves in 300 plus by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Or by the end of next year.
And growing organically, being in the desert, having that kind of luxury bougie packaging. What other differentiators would you say that High Life Farms has, or its branding and its products will have compared to others?
I would say probably genetic variety. I mean, every like 3 months or so, me and Ben are always popping new seeds all the time, selecting new strains. So our libraries change quite often. So every 3 months, you're usually getting like 3 or 4 new strains in there, where it's not the same old stuff all the time. We really get to be creative with this.
And how are you filtering those decisions? Like, is it just kind of word of mouth and what's trending, or are you guys doing some heavy research to find out what will resonate with your audience?
I think it's a good mix of both. Yeah, good mix of both. I think we're finding, we obviously want to carry what's hot out there right now, but we also are smokers ourselves and connoisseurs. So, you know, finding those phenos and cultivars that are really special to us and unique, you know, not growing the same things that everybody else is growing out there. It's good to have a good mix of that. You know, we're supplying people with the hype strains that they want to see, but also some different stuff that you might not find on other people's menus.
Right, right. Yeah. It's so important. It seems like, cause people want like, you know, they want options. They want to have a good selection of what they're looking for, but then they all seems like they want that high potency, right?
Yeah.
They want the high THC. So what type of high THC strains are you working with? And what are the percentage levels? Like some of the highest?
So in California, we got the garlic mints right now, which I think our highest tester was at 35% THC and 42 overall. So
Wow.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I mean, we usually are anywhere between 28 and 35 right now. We just try to stay on the higher end because California likes high THC, obviously.
Right.
They're not more into the terpenes like Colorado or Northern California is at the moment. So, yeah.
It's just crazy how like it varies when it comes to consumption tolerances, right, by state. Because I mean, California's been in the game for a long time. You've got these consumers that really want that high potency, and then you have other states that are barely just kind of entering, and they're you know, their consumers will take what they can get, basically, right? Because they're just excited.
I know.
So that's a good segue. So let's talk about the Michigan market. So how did you guys navigate entry there, and what have you seen in terms of challenges, opportunities, etc.?
Challenges and opportunities. I think for Michigan, for us, the challenge and opportunity is getting to really work with our own brand here. So High Life is obviously our brand. That's really ultimately what we want to become popular and really push in Michigan. Some of the other opportunities that we've had here is getting to work with Wana Gummies and Kiwi Chocolates. So we do all the manufacturing for those two companies here in Michigan. So I think that's been an incredible advantage to us as well. But being in this newer market where everything's just really starting to come kind of mature a little bit, it's nice to be able to really push our own brand and kind of get that established and going out here. It's even helpful for us in California as we become more popular out here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. What's the I guess the mood like, or the perception of, you know, it's been 2 years, right? So are there tons of dispensaries out in Michigan? I mean, what is the public's outlook on this? Are there a lot of municipalities that are for it, or is it similar to California in that like only 60 municipalities allow for cannabis and dispensaries?
I would say it's pretty similar to California. I don't know the exact number, but it's hit or miss on whether the municipality is willing to do it or not. Even surprisingly, Detroit has been incredibly slow on moving to recreational, you know, even though it was a pretty open medical marijuana city for a long time. There's a lot of politics in all of it on why some of these municipalities don't want to opt in right away.
Yeah. What about taxes? Like, because it's similar to California in that some municipalities allow it, some don't. Do some of these municipalities, like, you know, charge taxes for transporting or driving through with the product and other things?
I wouldn't say necessarily transporting or driving through with the product, but like, so we're in a real small town here in Michigan. A lot of our tax money goes towards the town that we're in. So I think that's more of the draw for municipalities, is bringing in these companies and getting them established, you know, in these towns. I think that's really where the benefit for these cities and towns are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think is the next Midwest state to go full adult use?
Oh, it's hard to say. I'm not sure.
It's tough, Ben. What would you say? What's your best guess?
I to be honest, I am so locked in on what I'm doing in Michigan. I'm in my own bubble here. I have no idea
feel the same
what's
way.
happening
I'm gonna go ahead and say Ohio though.
Ohio.
Yeah.
That's a good answer, Ben. That just shows that you're focused on the job, man. You don't have time for any of this other stuff, you know?
Well, it happens all the time. People ask me about like other grows starting up in Michigan, and I'm like, I have no idea who else is out there right now. I just got to focus on what I'm doing here.
Yeah, we're farmers.
That's right. Hey, farmers, and that's an athletic perspective too, right? I mean, don't worry about anybody else but yourself.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
So tell me, what's it like to operate a family-run business? Like, I don't have a brother, but I can imagine like sibling rivalry, brothers, sisters, they fight with each other. Like
No,
you guys had probably your feud. What's it like to work and be co-founders of this company?
I think it's
so it's
a
been pretty,
dream come true for both of us.
yeah,
Me and Vinny, we're all a close family growing up. We always talked about doing some cool stuff together. I don't think either of us would imagine this would have ever been the career path that we both got to take together. But yeah, it's been a blessing for both of us, and we've been super, super happy to get to do it together.
yeah, and it's actually been super easy to work with each other too, because I mean, we each get to kind of run our respective facilities the way we want to do them. So there's no really butting heads or anything like that. I don't know. And then we
I
actually,
think ultimately we have the same goals too.
We do.
So whether you're in California or I'm in Michigan, it's just a really good pairing.
Yeah. Well, and then, some people say that like different skill sets will complement one another. So like, I mean, do you guys have the same skill set? Is there one thing that someone does stronger than the other? And like, how do you complement each other?
for sure. Ben is a grower in the pure sense of the word, whereas I work more in sales and product development. So, I mean, we complement each other in that aspect that we can play off each other. And
yeah, Vinny's very
strains.
good at working with the company, doing the sales, all that kind of stuff that I have no interest in, unfortunately. But cultivating is my passion, and it's truly what I'm good at. So that's why another reason it's such a good pairing. Vinny makes up for all those things that I don't really care for or don't have the skill set for. And he also teaches me those things, and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so awesome, man. And you guys, like, you can totally bypass the whole like relationship building and trust factor and all that. I mean, because you guys are brothers, you grew up together, right? So and I'm sure that kind of carries on with people you bring on your staff, right, in these different states, because there's that trust of, okay, well, if Ben thinks this guy or this girl is the right person for the job, then I trust him, or vice versa with Vinny.
Absolutely. And I rely on Ben too to work with our growers here in California to make sure they're on top of things and to adjust their formulas and feeds and all these little things that I don't know myself. So it's a really good pairing here.
Yeah. So when did you guys start? Like, I know that Ben, you mentioned that you guys are connoisseurs. You've been consumers of the plant for a while. So like, was this always kind of the plan? You guys enjoyed cannabis so much that one day we're going to start this company, or was this something that you kind of gradually fell into over time?
We did it as a hobby, and we gradually fell into it, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I think there's like some family aspect to it too. I think, we wanted to get into it, but, there's another reality of it. Like, Vinny and I think I was probably a sophomore or junior in college when I got into the industry, and I dropped out of school to get into it. But it was really an opportunity presented to us through our dad, who was getting involved in a company in California. And that's really how I got my start in, getting involved in these industries. I got to go work in some grows out there and really get an understanding for what the industry's like. Is this something that I really love? And just out of luck and, a lot of hard work, this kind of naturally came about. I don't think we really planned it too much.
No, there's no planning in this. Just kind of manifested, I think.
Right.
Manifested, but it was also, it felt like, it's weird to say, but it feels like, I don't know, like it was meant to be in a way.
No, that's not
everything. Just, yeah.
It's not weird to say, because I mean, the first thing I was going to react to when you said you dropped out of college to pursue this industry was, well, what did your parents think? But then you followed up with saying, because of your dad, he was the one that was kind of moving toward it. Did he start his own company, or did he join another company at that time?
Well, I guess a little background on my dad. He's a very old school man, I guess, business type of guy. So, I don't know. He didn't complete college either. He's a self-started person. He doesn't, I don't know. I think we're big believers in applied practices versus education all the time. Not that education isn't important. But I guess for us as a family, we really learn better hands-on. So for me, I wasn't a school person. For me to get out there and get into the field was, I don't know, the best education I could have gotten.
Yeah. I get this sense of, I go back to like when you talk and when your brother Vinny talks, you guys got this focus, this like, persevere mentality. So is there any kind of athletic background that you have, or was it all farming?
No,
No, I think we played sports growing up. Vinny
Yeah.
and I were both big hockey players when we were young. Go ahead, Vinny. You were way into more sports than I was.
I played 3 sports in high school: lacrosse, hockey, and football. And then I played lacrosse in college. So Ben, I think you won 2 state championships yourself in lacrosse, right?
Yeah, we played all the high school sports and everything. And, when I went to college, I didn't have any interest in doing that. But Vinny continued, throughout his college career and everything. But I don't know. I think, that probably did instill some of that stuff into us, I guess.
Yeah. I love how Vinny says, I think that, Ben, didn't you win 2 state championships? I think.
I
Well,
mean,
Vinny was on a national championship team. He didn't mention that.
Oh, he was on a national team for us or what?
Yeah, for lacrosse.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, you could just tell that kind of that tone, of being dedicated, focused, and whatnot. So I had to ask. So thank you for clarifying that.
That was a good question.
So hey guys, let's talk about the ins and outs when it comes to like all of the the areas of bread and butter that High Life Farms focuses on. So let's start with cultivation, then we can move on to manufacturing, distribution, in-house brands, white labeling. Like what are the ins and outs of all these different segments?
You want to start with California or Michigan?
Let's do Michigan this time.
Okay, so I guess 2 real good, our cultivation and production are real strong areas for us. Obviously, we've been cultivating for a decent amount of time now on a big scale, so we've got a pretty dialed in, facility and way we like to do things. Getting to work with Kiva and Wana Gummies on our production facility in Michigan, I think we were all able to work together as 3 companies to really improve all of our processes. So here in Michigan, I think we've helped Kiva and Wana, improve how their processes work. And it's really become a strong suit for us. We sell a lot of Wana Gummies here.
And is that, okay, so like, I'm not from Michigan. I've only visited several times. So is that like a pretty big chocolate manufacturer in the area, or what?
So I guess, sorry, I didn't give any background on it. So Kiwi Chocolates, they are a long-time chocolate brand out of California.
Okay.
So they've been around, I don't know exactly what year, but a good decade or more.
I would say they're probably one of the biggest edible manufacturers in the state of California for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And, a great chocolate brand, super high quality, and they just have a lot of good products. Wana Gummies is a Denver, the #1 gummy brand out of Denver. Also just a super great company to work with. So we were able to pair with those 2, top edible producers in those 2 states to kind of bring that to Michigan.
Yeah.
And it was a huge source of knowledge for us to get started right away and, help them improve on their processes and really get a strong start in Michigan.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I can imagine having all that experience and knowledge, operating out of California previously. And then, like you mentioned, Colorado, you've already built those relationships up. So it makes sense. Why not, launch that in Michigan, right? With those 2 brands.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing, it was very lucky for us to get to partner with them. But again, it felt like it was meant to be.
Yeah. And how about you, Vinny? Let's talk about some of the ins and outs when it comes to cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, et cetera, in California.
So on the manufacturing side, we do not do Kiva here, but we do Wana for the entire state of California. That's a big one for us, and we're happy to be working with them. Other than that, to be honest, right now we're focused purely on cultivation, and we do some extracts ourselves here as well. But we keep it pretty clean here in the business.
Yeah. We talked earlier about High Life Farms eventually rolling out its own brand products, right? So when is it expected to happen?
So we're talking within the next 3 to 6 months here. We actually have all the equipment on site. We're going to start manufacturing chocolate and different gummies for us out here in California, as well as switching up some different stuff in Michigan. But it's coming shortly here.
Are we just talking edibles, or also like topicals, tinctures, things like that, sublinguals?
I think
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think right now our big thing for us is different probably topicals. We recently got into solventless products lately, so we're doing water hash and hash rosin in Michigan. The brand's also based off my dog, so I do want to give him a shout out right now. She's solventless.
For those that are just listening, go ahead and put that up again. It's a sticker, and that's your dog?
Yeah, my dog. He comes to every grow with me I've ever worked at. So he's spent more hours in a grow than a lot of these master growers out there.
Yeah.
So he got the respect of getting his own brand.
I love that. If he has an Instagram, you got to give it to me so we can give him a shout out.
Yep. Chief Solventless. That's it.
Chief Solventless. You guys heard it here. You got to follow him. Master grower.
Master. But yeah, I think that's, we're just trying to really focus on our core stuff here in Michigan. We do want to develop new products and things like that. But right now it's really about dialing in our chocolate production, our edible production for Kiva and Wana, and, building it from there.
Yeah.
Yep. And in California, we're actually in the works of a new edible contract right now that I can't really talk about yet, but would probably become the biggest contract in California to date for chocolate. So we're pretty excited about that in the future.
That's great.
It would add probably about 75 jobs here and quite a bit of money to the revenue.
Sounds like we're going to have a lot to talk about in the near future once all this stuff starts being announced.
For sure.
Yeah. So, there's a lot that's been happening in the industry when it comes to the election that just passed, the 5 states passing both adult use and medicinal, the UN descheduling cannabis from its single convention. So with all this momentum happening, are you guys feeling this momentum and the effects of the momentum firsthand, being business owners and operating in various states? What have you guys felt from all this?
Yeah, it's just a lot of noise at the moment in time. We haven't really seen any changes yet in terms of banking laws and all these different things that need to change in order for us to actually thrive in the industry right now. So there's still a long way that needs to go, but I think we're actually hopeful that it went through the House and passed and everything. But I think it still has a long way to go.
Yeah, it's great that it passed the House. There's a lot of people's. The prediction is that it's not going to pass the Senate, right? But at least these moves are starting to kind of bring the topic to the forefront, right? And it's
waking people.
It's waking people up, exactly. Yeah. Well, no, and what kind of challenges, with the lack of banking laws, right, and us not having the Safe Banking Act passed through, what challenges have you guys seen on the banking and the financial side? Have you guys been cut off of banks before?
No, we've worked pretty clean from the beginning with banks. We found one that work with the states and that are compliant. We have to hand in every invoice, every ticket stub that we do when we submit things. The fees are twice as expensive than any normal bank. The wires take twice as long. And the other thing I've noticed in this business too is that if you have a cannabis license, it's impossible for you to get a mortgage. I tried to go through that process about 3 weeks ago, and
wow.
I got to find different routes now.
That's a new one for me. So you're saying if you own a cannabis license to operate as a business owner, it's difficult for you to get a mortgage?
Yes.
Wow.
They take away your financing from normal banks.
Even if, of course, you have the best credit, you're upstanding citizen, everything, just because you have a cannabis license. That's insane, man.
Yeah. So until we get past that, I don't know, it's all talk for now.
Right, exactly. Where's the proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
We actually need to make these actions. That's one thing that I've seen on the hemp side living in Texas is, and I've said this over and over on the podcast, the lack of FDA consumer oversight, right, for these products. And so it's kind of like the wild, wild west in terms of people just doing what they want, bad actors playing in the space and producing products that have little to no cannabinoids in them. And I bring this up because I know that y'all are hyper focused on THC in these various states where adult use is legal, but do you ever foresee yourselves jumping on the hemp side or not at all?
No, I don't think we would ever jump on the hemp side. I don't think that's really our field at all that we would hop into or anything like that. And I do agree with you. It's really the Wild West out there right now. I've seen, just like you, some pretty horrendous examples of CBD flower. And it's scary that there's no regulation behind it right now. So I would like to see there be more regulation, but I don't think that's a field that we would end up getting into. I think very saturated with people right now trying to do it.
Yeah.
And that's right around the corner too with legalization, is the FDA coming in and doing process validation and all these normal things that other manufacturers have to do, just best practices and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've heard from a California cultivator that I had on about 2 months ago, she made us at this point that I didn't ever think about, and we've talked about it since, because it's such an important topic, and that is establishing and implementing zoning laws when it comes to these hemp cultivators being too close to the THC outdoor growers, right? Because the issue with cross-pollination and feminizing and all that, right?
So we actually had an issue in our municipality last summer. We had a few people throw up some hemp grows within, a few miles of town, and we have greenhouses, cannabis greenhouses all around here. So it was a big deal, and they all ended up having to rip their crops out, thankfully. So none of us had to deal with the consequences of that.
Yeah, I mean, so I know Arizona, they just passed, right, adult use, and Louis Lujan, he represents a lobby firm, and he said that's the next issue they're going to tackle is trying to work with both sides to figure out those zoning laws, because I mean it's a huge threat, right, to your crop ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you're doing, but if you are farming in a greenhouse for a sellable flower, it is a huge threat for sure.
Yeah.
If you're cultivating for biomass, it shouldn't matter to you really. Obviously, you don't want seeds everywhere and everything, but not as big of a deal. But yeah, if you're cultivating for high quality sellable flower, it's the end of it.
Yeah. See, and that's what I hope, like, there's not this internal battle amongst the industry, right, as a whole, when more hemp farms start growing. And I hope that the state and local governments can address this. Obviously, that's high hopes, because we haven't seen a lot of other things happen at the pace we'd like to. But hey, here's to hoping, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Hey, well, let's talk about this last topic, guys, and that is serving our communities, right? So we've seen during COVID, and especially with the growing public support for cannabis, people addressing the social equity when it comes to cannabis, right? There's a lot of people that have been locked up, incarcerated for this plant for non-violent crimes, when now people are thriving and profiting off of cannabis as a business, as a legitimate business. So, what types of community service oriented projects is High Life Farms focused on, and what do y'all do to give back to your communities?
So like I said, we're from a really small town here in Michigan. It's really one of those middle of nowhere towns where there's not much going on out here. So especially I know everybody's having a tough time during COVID, but it impacts communities like this that don't have a lot of jobs in the first place quite a bit. So we, for Thanksgiving, we did, I think we did 110 meals for, anybody that needed them in the community here. We're doing a toy drive this weekend. And for the social equity part of it, we're actually, I won't say too much, but we're starting a brand right now that'll directly go towards, people with wrongful incarcerations and things like that, trying to help out and give back by, promoting a brand that would do that.
Yep. And then in California, yep, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's really it for Michigan. And, our family does a whole lot for the community too here in Michigan. My dad's done a lot for Detroit over the years. He's a huge Detroiter. So they do, there's a Capuchin's soup kitchens and a Gleaner soup kitchens here. So they do it's called Hunger Free in the D. It's a program that they do every year. And anyways, this year they were able to raise $750,000 to feed over 1 million families in the Detroit area.
Wow.
So very grateful that they go out there and promote this kind of stuff and really make a huge impact in that community out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
Yep. And then in California, we're doing, we do a toy drive. We've also done a food drive for the holidays over Thanksgiving. Last week, we actually did a trash pickup in our city where we picked up like 1,200 pounds of trash with our entire team. It was pretty cool. But we're also from a small town like Venice and Chesaning up there, where they don't have much money around here. There's not many jobs. It's pretty much an entire cannabis community. All the jobs around here are cannabis based. So, I mean, it's been interesting, but we're doing our best to get back to the community here and do everything we can, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important, right? I mean, it's an opportunity for the industry to really be the pioneers when it comes to how things should be done and how things should operate during a pandemic, simply because we've been deemed essential. And the industry has done that, I think, throughout this whole period. You know, they've really done a great job of giving back to the communities, as well as operating in a healthy way that follows the guidelines for COVID, right? So
yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
It's been interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I can't imagine that how y'all have had to adapt and navigate through guidelines.
Yeah, the facilities are basically 24 hours now, just because we have to keep spacing guidelines and stuff like that. So in the trim rooms, we're running shifts 24 hours a day now. I think there's maybe a 3-hour period where they're off at this point in time. I know the kitchen back in Michigan starts at what time, Ben? 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.?
Yeah, we usually start at 2 to get all the prep work done and get some of those people out so we can get packaging and the production folks in and not have it be too crowded.
Yes, it's been nuts, but we're getting around it, and we're just happy to be working, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, all of it, is whatever the challenge is, we're incredibly fortunate to be able to keep our places open, keep everybody working, and be able to give back in these weird times.
That's the right mindset to have, guys. And, we've talked about a lot. I really appreciate you guys sharing your insights and the background information about High Life Farms and the great work that you guys are doing. Before we sign off, what would you say to someone wanting to enter the cannabis industry, or anything else that you'd want to touch on before we sign off?
For me, the cannabis industry, I don't know. It was just huge for me finding something that I love to do. So I'd say for anybody that wants to get into it, just go for it, do it, and give it everything you got. The cream will always rise to the top in these grows. So I don't care if you have no experience or you have the most experience in the world. As long as you work hard, you're going to advance in these industries right now. So I'd just say go for it. And if you give it everything you got, I guarantee you're going to end up in a good place.
Yeah, I would say the same. I'd say just go for it, even if you're starting at the lowest position. I've seen guys at some of my facilities that have worked for a couple of years there and that have rolled into different positions and then started their own consulting jobs after and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's so many opportunities for these people in this business right now. You just kind of grab one and find it, to be honest.
That's great advice. Well, hey, I really appreciate your guys' time today. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to rolling it back with you guys in the near future as the industry evolves.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it. And once again, follow my boy Chief. He solventless hash.
Solventless hash, Chief Solventless. Follow him.
All right, appreciate you, Kevin.
Right on.
Thank you, Kevin.
And thank you for listening, guys. Bye.
Absolutely.